ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد. So we read that Qasidah Burdah is divided into 10 fusul. We read Fasl Awwal, first section. Now we move on to Fasl Thani, section 2. After describing complaint of love and how it affects a person, he now moves on to At-Tahzir min Hawa Nafs, warning from the Hawa Nafs. He says, فَإِنَّ أَمَّارَتِي بِالسُّوءِ مَا اتَّعَظَتْ مِنْ جَهْلِهَا بِنَذِيرِ الشَّيْبِ وَالْهَرَمِ. This self of mine, nafs of mine, that drives me to error, has turned a blind eye to grey hair and old age. ولا أعدت من الفعل الجميل قرا ضيف ألم برأسي غير محتشم. It has not even prepared banquet of deeds for this unexpected guest who has set up permanent camp on my head. لو كنت أعلم أني ما أوقره كتمت سرا بدا لي منه بالكتم. Had I known that I won't be able to respect it, I would have camouflaged this secret with black dye. من لي برد جماح من غوايتها كما يرد جماح الخيل باللجم. Who can restrain my bolting soul from its selfish desires, like bridles that bring restive steeds under control? فلا ترم بالمعاصي كسر شهوتها إن الطعام يقوي شهوة النهم. Do not attempt to break its appetite through wanton indulgence. Notice how food only strengthens a glutton's craving. والنفس كالطفل إن تهمله شب على حب الرضاع وإن تفطمه ينفطم. The nafs is like an infant, a child. If you leave it, it will grow up loving to suckle, but if you wean it, soon it will lose its desire for the breast. فاصرف هواها وحاذر أن توليه إن الهوى ما تولى يسمي أو يسمي. Divert the self's desires and avoid empowering it. Whenever desire takes charge, it either destroys or defiles. وراعيها وهي في الأعمال سائمة وإن هي استحلت المرعى فلا تسمي. Shepherd over it as it grazes freely in the field of actions, but should it find the pasturage sweet, restrain its roaming. كم حسنت لذة للمرء قاتلة من حيث لم يدري أن السم في الدسم. How often it has found some deadly pleasure delightful, not knowing that poison lies hidden in the cream. واخشى الدسائس من جوع ومن شبع فرب مخمصة شر من التخم. Be on guard against the traps of hunger and satiety. An empty stomach can be worse than a full one. واستفرغ الدمع من عين قد امتلأت من المحارم والزم حمية الندم. Empty out every last tear from the eye that has gorged on forbidden desserts and cling to a diet of remorse. وخالف النفس والشيطان وعصهما وإنهما محضاك المصحف التهمي. Contradict the infantile self and shaitan and disobey them. If either of them offers you sincere advice, be suspicious. ولا تطع منهما خصما ولا حكما فأنت تعرف كيد الخصم والحكم. Submit to neither, whether they come as an adversary or arbiter. By now you should know the intrigues of both adversary and arbiter. أستغفر الله من قول بلا عمل لقد نسبت به نسلا لذي عقم. I seek Allah's forgiveness for words without deeds. Empty talk holds no promise, like expecting children to spring for a man who is sterile. أمرتك الخير لكن ما أتمرت به وما استقمت فما قولي لك استقمي. I counsel you to good, but all the while ignore it myself. I have not been upright, so how dare I tell you to be upright? ولا تزودت قول الموت نافلة ولم أصلي سوى فرض ولم أصمي. Nor have I prepared for my death by increasing my devotions, neither fasting nor praying beyond what is normally required. Here comes to close chapter 2. Again, it starts with فَإِنَّ أَمَّارَتِي بِالسُّوءِ مَتَّعَذَتْ مِنْ جَهْلِهَا بِنَذِيرِ الشَّيْبِ وَالْهَرَمِ. Ammara bisu, the nafs which instigates evils. In Quran Sharif, 3 types of nafs are mentioned. Nafsi ammara, nafsi lawwama, and nafsi mutma'inna. Nafsi ammara is the one which keeps on pressing you to do bad things. Inna nafsa al-ammaratun bis-su'i illa ma rahima rabbi. And nafsi lawwama is the one which blames you after you have done something wrong. La uqsimu bi yawmil qiyamah wa la uqsimu bin nafsil lawwama. This is somewhat good. At least you got that realization that what you did was wrong. And number 3, mutma'inna. Ya ayyatuha nafsul mutma'inna. The one which is easy going, which helps you to do everything good and stops you from bad. That's nafsi mutma'inna. So here he is saying that my nafsi ammara, which forces me to do bad things, has not taken waz nasihat due to its jahalat and ignorance from the warning of the old age and grey hair. My nafs is still on the same pattern, still committing sins in spite of grey hair and old age. And nor has it even prepared any good deeds. खिरा ज़ईफ़िन, मेहमान की मेहमानी. कौन सा मेहमान? Which guest? Some hospitality for the guest. The guest which has settled on my head and permanently, without any hashmat and without any hesitation, is come and settled on my head. So I should have prepared something from the guest of white hair. If I had known that I won't be able to revere it, then I would have hidden the white hair with black dye. But I didn't know that this is going to happen. I have not prepared and I have not hidden myself either. I don't know what to do. Man li biraddi jimahin min ghawayatiha. Who is there to help me to control my nafs from its gumrahi? كما يرد جماح الخيل باللجم. Like horses which go on rampage are controlled by lagam and reins. You see, Sufiya Kiram say the nafs is like a wild horse. You need to tame it, like the cowboy tames the white horse. Right? He doesn't let anyone sit on it, so the cowboy jumps on it and gives it a few whips. Then it settles down. And a few times he has to do this. And then the horse settles down and he lets someone ride on it. So the jumping horse up and down, which has gone rogue, you have to bring under control. Nafs should be brought under control as well. Then he says in number 17, فَلَا تَرُمْ بِالْمَعَاصِي كَسْرَ شَهْوَتِهَا. If you have any desire, then don't attempt to break that desire by doing more sins. sins upon sins. Inna ta'ama yuqawwi shahwatan nahimi. For glutton craving, the food only increases his gluttony. Right? A person who's greedy and he eats a lot, who's into eating, pair to big belly, the more food you give him, the more he'll eat. So the nafs is like that person, the more sins you give it, the more sins it will ask for. It won't break itself, it won't put the brakes on. You will have to put the brakes on. Otherwise, it will always ask you for more sins, more sins, more sins, more sins. And nafs is like a child, number 18. If you leave it, then it will grow up loving to suckle. And if you wean it, it will stop. So if you give more sins to the nafs, it will keep on asking for more. But if you put the brakes on, then it will stop. So you have to control your nafs. You know, my Ustad Hazrat Maulana Athar Sahib in Saharanpur, he once was teaching Al-Mutanabbi. And after his lesson, you know, I went to him. I didn't study regularly from him, but little bit, bit by bit. So he said to me, today we were teaching about nafs in Mutanabbi. So this share I made, توق نفسك لا تأمن غوائلها فالنفس أخبث من 70 شيطانا. Beware of your nafs. Don't feel secure from its perils. Because one nafs is worse than 70 shaitans. And he said, you know why? Because tell me, who deviated shaitan? His nafs. That means nafs is more evil than shaitan. Shaitan, you read one la hawl, one a'udhu billah, he has to run away. But nafs, no matter how much la hawl, a'udhu billah you read, your nafs is not going to go away. So nafs needs to be brought under control. This is what he's saying. فَصْرِفْ هَوَاهَا وَحَاذِرْ أَن تُوَلِّيهُ. Divert the hawa and the love of the nafs and beware of empowering it. تُوَلِّيهُ, to give it power over you. Because hawa and desire and love, when it takes charge, it will either destroy you or defile you. وَرَاعِهَا, keep your guard over it. Be on top of your nafs. While it's grazing in the field of a'mal, when the nafs is grazing in the field of a'mal, keep on guard. Like you look after your animal, it doesn't go for the poisonous shrubs and poisonous jungle. You keep it away onto the grass and greenery which is good for it. Similarly, don't let your nafs go towards the sin. Keep it towards good a'mal. إن الهوى وإن هي استحلت المرعى فلا تسمي. If your nafs loves the pasture, then don't let it graze in there. Take it away. كم حسنت لذة للمرء قاتلة. How often it beautified some lazzat for a person killing it in a manner that he did not know that there is poison in the cream. That it's going to poison him, kill him, it killed him. وَخْشَدْ دَسَائِثَ مِنْ جُوعٍ وَمِنْ شِبَعٍ. And be on guard, be fearful of the sisa and trap, conspiracy, intrigues of hunger and satiation. Sometimes, eating too much is harmful for you. But sometimes hunger is harmful for you as well. Because you keep roza, shaitan makes you keep roza upon roza, fast upon fast. And then he brings pride in you. I'm big, I keep lots of rozas. So through your hunger and roza, he's brought pride in you and he's destroying you. So be mindful of satiation and of hunger. فَرُبَّ مَخْمَصَةٍ شَرٌّ مِّنَ التُّخَمِ. Sometimes empty stomach, hunger, can be worse than full stomach. وَاسْتَفْرِغِ الدَّمْعَ مِنْ عَيْنٍ قَدْ امْتَلَأَتْ. And shed some tears from the eyes which is filled with maharim, and cling on to the diet of remorse. Meaning your eyes have gone stray, stared at the opposite gender too much. In this day and age, na'uzubillah, pornography, videos, movies, films. Now in the 6th century there were not these things, but he is still crying that you look at namahram women. So, your eyes have been filled with haram stuff. So shed some tears from those eyes and hold on to the parhezi and diet of remorse. And oppose your nafs and shaitan. Don't listen to them. Even if they were to give you sincere advice, be suspicious of their sincere advice as well. Why is shaitan giving me this advice? इसके पीछे भी कोई शैतानत है. وَلَا تُطِعْ مِنْهُمَا خَصْمًا وَلَا حَكَمًا. Don't listen to any adversary or any hakam and judge from both of them, because you know the traps and intrigues of the adversary and of the judge. Astaghfirullah min qawlin bila amalin. Toba, 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 astaghfirullah. What am I saying? I'm saying things, but I'm not practicing myself. This is like relating some child to a barren person. A barren person cannot have children. So I'm not doing anything, I'm barren, and I'm saying these words. Amartukal khayra lakin ma'tamartu bihi. I'm telling you to do good and behave, but I'm not following the advice myself. وَمَسْتَقَمْتُ. I'm not mustaqim, I'm not straight. فَمَا قَوْلِي لَكَ اسْتَقِيمِي. What does my telling you to remain straight mean? It has no meaning to it. وَلَا تَزَوَّدْتُ قَبْلَ الْمَوْتِ نَافِلَةً. I have not prepared for my death by increasing my devotions, neither fasting nor praying beyond what is normally required. ये तो ऑन हुआ ही नहीं था, अभी ऑन हुआ. ये भी गड़बड़ है यार. I think this one is working. चलो. बस यहाँ तक तो ये पूरा हो गया. Section 2. Now we move on to section 3. Section 3 is regarding praise of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. ظلمت سنة من أحيا الظلام إلى أن اشتكت قدماه الضر من ورمي. I have neglected the path and sunnat of the one who brought black nights to life by praying until even his feet was swelled with distress. وشد من ثغب أحشاءه وطوى تحت الحجارة كشحا مطرف الأدم. To quell his hunger, he tightened his midriff by strapping stones to his soft sides and strong ribs. وراودته الجبال الشم من ذهب عن نفسه فأراها أيما شمم. Lofty mountains to entice him draped themselves in gold, but he showed them a towering soul perfectly content without desire. وأكدت زهده فيها ضرورته إن الضرورة لا تعدو على العصم. The extremity of his needs only confirmed his freedom from desire. Need never overshadows virtue that is firmly rooted. وكيف تدعو إلى الدنيا ضرورة من لولاه لم تخرج الدنيا من العدم. How could the need of such a person be answered by the world when without him this world would never have come into being? محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Lord of both the worlds, Lord of both species, Lord of both assemblages, Arabs and others. نبينا الآمر الناهي فلا أحد أبر في قول لا منه ولا نعم. Our Prophet, commander of right, forbidder of wrong, no soul kept his word more justly, whether yes or no. هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته لكل هول من الأهوال مقتحم. He is the beloved whose intercession is hoped for as arms against a host of relentless calamities. دعا إلى الله فالمستمسكون به مستمسكون بحبل غير منفصم. He called towards Allah, and whoever clings to him clings to a rope that will never unravel or break. فاق النبيين في خلق وفي خلق ولم يدانوه في علم ولا كرم. His form and character surpassed even the previous prophets, and none have approached him in knowledge or nobility. وكلهم من رسول الله ملتمس غرفا من البحر أو رشفا من الديم. They all seek from the Messenger of Allah cupfuls from his ocean or sips from his unceasing rain. وواقفون لديه عند حدهم من نقطة العلم أو من شكلة الحكم. They all stand before him according to their limits, as if dots on his knowledge or diacritical marks on his wisdom. فهو الذي تم معناه وصورته ثم اصطفاه حبيبا بارئ النسم. He is the one whose meaning and form were perfected. Then the originator of souls chose him as his beloved. منزه عن شريك في محاسنه فجوهر الحسن فيه غير منقسم. Incomparable, his beauty has no peer. The essence of beauty itself is in his nature. دع ما ادعته النصارى في نبيهم وحكم بما شئت مدحا فيه واحتكم. Leave aside what the Christians have said about their prophet, then praise him as you like, but do so wisely. وانسب إلى ذاته ما شئت من شرف وانسب إلى قدره ما شئت من عظم. Ascribe to his essence what you wish of honor, attribute to his exalted status what you will of greatness. فإن فضل رسول الله ليس له حد فيعرب عنه ناطق بفمي. Truly, the messenger of Allah's merit cannot be overstated by the mouths of men. لو ناسبت قدره آياته عظما أحيا اسمه حين يدعى دارس الرمم. If a miracle could equal his stature in magnitude, the mere mention of his name would revive decaying bones. لم يمتحنا بما تعي العقول به حرصا علينا فلم نرتب ولم نهم. Concerned for our welfare, he did not confuse us with matters we could not fathom, so we neither wondered nor wavered. أعيا الورى فهم معناه فليس يرى في القرب والبعد فيه غير منفحم. Human beings cannot grasp his meaning, even those at his side could not keep up with him. كالشمس تظهر للعينين من بعد صغيرة وتكل الطرف من أمامي. He is like the sun, small to the eye when seen from afar, but when glimpsed close up, it dazzles and overwhelms. وكيف يدرك في الدنيا حقيقته قوم نيام تسلوا عنه بالحلم. How can slumberous souls in this world grasp his reality, distracted as they are by the strength of their dreams? فمبلغ العلم فيه أنه بشر وأنه خير خلق الله كلهم. The extent that we know of him is this, that he is a man, and yet without exception he is the best of Allah's creation. وكل آيٍ أتى الرسل الكرام بها فإنما اتصلت من نوره بهم. And all of the signs brought by the noble prophets all of the signs brought by the noble prophets before him came to them through his light alone. فإنه شمس فضل هم كواكبها. Indeed, he is the bounteous sun and they its orbiting planets, revealing its light for humanity in the darkness of night. حتى إذا طلعت في الكون عم هداها العالمين وأحيت سائر الأمم. Until finally his light dawned upon the horizons and his radiant guidance suffused the world and brought life to countless civilizations. أكرم بخلق نبي زانه خلق. What excellence lies in the birth of a prophet adorned with such character. Beauty itself shines forth from his smiling face. كالزهر في طرف والبدر في شرف والبحر في كرم والدهر في همم. Exquisite as a lily, illustrious as the full moon, magnanimous as the ocean, persistent as time. كأنه وهو فرد في جلالته في عسكر حين تلقاه وفي حشم. Due to his majesty, even when alone, he seems surrounded by military might and cohorts of courtiers. كأنما اللؤلؤ المكنون في صدف من معدني منطق منه ومبتسم. It is as if precious pearls locked in their shells poured forth from his sweet mouth and smile. لا طيب يعدل تربا ضم أعظمه طوبى لمنتشق منه وملتثم. No perfume is as sweet smelling as the earth that holds his noble form, meaning his Rawza Sharifa. Blessed are they that breathe its fragrance or kiss it. Here comes to close the chapter 3. Let's go over it again. He is now saying, ظلمت سنة من أحيا الظلام إلى أن اشتكت قدماه الضر من ورمي. I have been unjust. Zulm ke mana? To neglect, to unjust, to do zulm. Fail to fulfill the rights of someone. So over here, sometimes zulm is on a third party, and sometimes zulm is upon one's own self. Every time you sin, you are doing zulm on yourself, because you are throwing yourself in Jahannam. Right? So he is saying, Zalamtu, I have done zulm on myself and on the sunnah of that being. I have neglected, I have abandoned the sunnah of that personality who ahya zalam, who brought black nights to life, who breathed life into the darkness, meaning who prayed tahajjud namaz for so long hours that ishtakat kadamahu durra min warami, his feet swelled his feet were complaining of taklif and aza and zur due to waram and sujan and swelling. Meaning his feet were hurting from swelling, but he did not care about the hurting of his feet. He just kept standing before Allah and praying tahajjud. So that being who kept praying for so long hours, making du'as for you and me, and we are neglecting his sunnah. That being, وَشَدَّ مِنْ ثَغَبٍ أَحْشَاءَهُ وَطَوَى. Verse number 30. And he, to quell his hunger, he tightened his midriff by strapping stones to his soft side and strong ribs. Meaning he stayed hungry. He kept roza for many, many days. He went on hunger for many days. So much mujahada and riyazat and effort and struggle he put himself into it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and pleading to Allah for his ummah and for the best for his ummah. وَرَابَدَتْهُ الْجِبَالُ الشُّمُّ مِنْ ذَهَبٍ. Lofty mountains to entice him draped themselves in gold. Meaning the mountains said, we will turn to gold for you. You can take from us whatever you want, however you want, much you want, whenever you want, you can give it to people. And nafsihi, they tried to entice him from himself. However, he showed them a towering soul, perfectly content, without desire. No, mountains are high. So he went high above the mountains as well and told them what loftiness and highness is. That is to have zuhud and asceticism, forget all the dunya and worldly pleasures. He was zahid. And وَأَكَّدَتْ زُهْدَهُ فِيهَا ضَرُورَتُهُ. His extreme needs only confirmed his freedom from desire. His abstinence. He needed dunya, but he still stayed away from it. إِنَّ الضَّرُورَةَ لَا تَعْدُو عَلَى الْعِصَامِ. Indeed, zarurat and majburi cannot overshadow those who are ma'soom. He was ma'soom. How could his zarurat call him towards falling for the world. He never fell for the world. He stayed away from it. وَكَيْفَ تَدْعُو إِلَى الدُّنْيَا ضَرُورَةُ مَنْ لَوْلَاهُ لَمْ تَخْرُجِ الدُّنْيَا مِنَ الْعَدَمِ. How could the needs of such a man be answered by the world? Meaning, his zarurat. How could his needs call him to dunya when he is such that لَوْلَاهُ لَمْ تَخْرُجِ الدُّنْيَا مِنَ الْعَدَمِ. If he was not for him, then the world would not have come out of non-existence. This is reference to the hadith لَوْلَاكَ لَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْأَفْلَاقَ. Some say this hadith is not proven. Well, there's another hadith similar to it which says Ya Adam لَوْلَا Muhammad مَا خَلَقْتُكَ. O Adam, if it wasn't for Muhammad, I would not have created you. Muhammad na hote to kuch bhi na hota. किताब फितरत के सर वरक पर जो नाम अहमद रकम न होता, ये नक्श हस्ती उभर न सकता, वजूद लौहो कलम न होता, ये महफिल कुन फका न होती जो वो इमाम उमम न होता, ज़मीन न होती, फलक न होता, अरब न होता, अजम न होता, ये जलवे हक सुबहान अल्लाह, ये नूर हिदायत क्या कहना, जिब्रील भी शेदा उनके हैं, ये शान नबूवत क्या कहना। और जिस दिल में हो परतवे कुर्सी हो अर्श, वहाँ की रेज आ रही हो, वही आ रही हो, जिस दिल में हो परतवे कुर्सी हो अर्श, उस दिल की बुलंदी सल्ले अला। और जिस सीने में कुरान उतरा हो, उस सीने की अजमत क्या कहना। सो लौलाहु लम तखरुज दुनिया मिनल आदमी. This is one of the share which some people don't like. They say this is not right. And Quran says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. People are created for Allah's worship. So how come you can say that if it wasn't for Muhammad, then Allah wouldn't have created this? We say, bhai, for one thing there can be several asbab, reasons. So Allah created the world for His ibadat. And His ibadat was taught to us by the Anbiya. And the leader of all Anbiya is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So both can be that his ibadat as well, and Muhammad was brought to explain his ibadat. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam's Noor-e Nabuwwat was created first. And from his Noor-e Nabuwwat, the Noor was distributed among all the other Anbiya. As the riwayat says, أَوَّلُ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ نُورِي. Allah created Huzur's Noor first and then distributed the Noor among the Anbiya. As Hazrat Maulana Qasim Nanotwi Rahmatullah Alayhi says in the famous poetry, सबसे पहले मशीयत के अनवार से नक्शे रूए मोहम्मद बनाया गया, फिर उसी नक्श से मांग कर रोशनी बज़्म कौनो मकां को सजाया गया. वो मोहम्मद भी, अहमद भी, हामिद भी, महमूद भी, हुस्न मुतलक का शाहिद भी, मशहूद भी, ज़ाहिरन उम्मियों में उठाया गया. तुझको हशर का क्या गम है ये कासिम, तेरे आका हैं वो, तेरे मौला हैं वो, जिनके दामन में जन्नत बसाई गई, जिनके हाथों से कौसर लुटाया गया. Why you scared of हशर, मैदान हशर? He will do your shafaat intercession for you. So Huzur is such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him first and then created the rest of the creation. And if he was not for him, the world would not have been created. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved him so much, created him first, and then from his Noor-e Nabuwwat, his Ruhaniyat, it spread it among the other Anbiya. Adam alayhi salam's body was created first, but Ruh came in later. Arwah are created first, bodies were created later. And in the Alami Arwah, Rasulullah's Ruh was created first, and then the other Arwah. And the Noor was distributed, Noor-e Nabuwwat, among the Anbiya, and the Vilayat among the Awliya afterwards. This is Lawlahu lam takhruji dunya min al-adami. There won't be any ishkal in there. What Busiri is saying is right. It's from that hadith which we've just mentioned, Lawla Muhammad ma khalaqtu. Lawlak lama khalaqtul aflaq. The wording is not proven, but the meaning is proven. And it's taken from Lawla Muhammad ma khalaqtu. Chaliye, which is in Mustadrak Hakim. Muhammadun Sayyidul Kawnaini Wasthaqalain. Muhammad is the leader and master of both the worlds and both species. Kaunain means two kauns, two worlds. Which two worlds? Dunya and Akhirat. He is the leader in both worlds. And Thaqalain means both species. Reference is towards jinn and ins. He is master of jinnat and master of insan, both. وَالْفَرِيقَيْنِ مِنْ عُرْبٍ وَمِنْ عَجَمِ. And he is the leader and master of both groups, Arab and Ajam. Urb is plural of Arab. And Ajam is Ajam, non-Arabs. There's only two, Arab and non-Arabs. So he is master of both groups, Arab and non-Arabs. Over here, the poetry with Maulana Abdul Raqib Sahib was reciting Muhammadun Ashraful A'rabi wal Ajami. If we had time, we could have sung it together, but we're running out of time. अभी तो सिर्फ कितने शेयर हुए हैं? 30 शेयर हुए हैं. एक घंटे में अभी 100 शेयर करने हैं. अल्लाह आसान करे. نبينا الآمر الناهي فلا أحد أبر في قول لا منه ولا نعمي. Our prophet is the commander of right and forbidder of wrong. Allah sent him as Amr bil Maruf Nahy Anil Munkar. And there is no one more true to his words in saying La and Naam than Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He is the Habib whose shafa'at is hoped for every calamity which is relentless and attacks us. Okay जी? मुक्तहिम जो हमला कर दे, जो टूट पड़े, जो मुसीबत भी हमारे ऊपर टूट पड़े, तो उस मुसीबत में हुजूर की सिफारिश की उम्मीद की जाती है. हुजूर शफाअत करते हैं, है ना? इसीलिए दुरूद शरीफ जो है मुसीबतों को दूर करने के लिए अक्सीर है. Especially दुरूद तुंजीना. You know the story behind दुरूद तुंजीना? No? Hazrat Sheikh has mentioned in Fazail Durood Sharif. Sheikh Musa Zarir Rahmatullahi alayhi was traveling on a ship which was caught up in a storm. Thada, heavy rains and thunder and lightning and storm and the ocean. And the sea was really rough. And the ship was taking kalabazia up and down, and they were going to hit the rocks and finish, drown. So everybody in the massive ship was screaming, men, women, children. But this Sheikh Musa Darib, Allah wale, they are calm. So he was just sitting calm, doing his zikr azkar, and he fell swooned. And as he swooned, he saw Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in dream. And Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, tell everybody on board the ship to read this Durood Sharif 1,000 times and you will be saved. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد صلاة تنجينا بها من جميع الأهوال والآفات وتقضي لنا بها جميع الحاجات وتطهرنا بها من جميع السيئات وترفعنا بها عندك على الدرجات وتبلغنا بها أقصى الغايات من جميع الخيرات في الحياة وبعد الممات إنك على كل شيء قدير. He woke up and he told everyone, I saw Nabi Kareem Sallallahu in my dream, and he said, read this Durood Sharif. Everybody started reading. They had only read it 300 times. Storm was gone. Everything was calm. The wind was flowing beautifully. And the ship sailed quickly. And they got to their destination. This is Turja Shafa'atuhu likulli hawlim min al-ahwali muqtaim. This is one example. Many times you will read many stories when Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam interceded in this dunya. And he is going to intercede on the day of Qiyamah. Shafa'at Kubra is for him. So this is perhaps what he's indicating to. Da'a ila Allahi fal mustamsikuna bihi. He invited people towards Allah. Now those who hold on to him, hold on to a rope which will never snap. He excelled all the Anbiya in khalqin wa fi khuluqin. In body form and in character. Meaning he was the most beautiful, handsome among the Anbiya, and he had the most beautiful akhlaq among the Anbiya. And they never came close to him in ilm or nobility. His ilm was more than all the Anbiya, and his nobility and karamat and sharafat was more than all the Anbiya. I've explained it there, read it in your own time. وَكُلُّهُم مِّن رَسُولِ اللَّهِ مُلْتَمِسٌ. All Anbiya seek from Rasulullah cupfuls of his ocean or sips from his unceasing rain. All Anbiya take from him and they are standing before him at their limits. Min nuqtatil ilm, like a dot of knowledge, or shaklatul hikam, or diacritical marks on wisdom. Meaning their ilm is like dot, and his ilm is like that massive book. And their hikmat, shaklatul hikam, their hikmat and wisdom is like a diacritical mark, zabar zir pesh, and his is like the kalam. He is the one whose ma'na and surat were perfected. Ma'na means his inner self. Meaning likha hai, lekin meaning ke bajay inner self. His inner state and his outer form were both perfected. Then he was chosen as Habib by the one who created the whole universe and all the arwah and souls. Jazakallah Mawlana. We'll have to move quickly. He is munazzah and pak and free from any sharik in his beauties. Like Allah is pak from having sharik in his uluhiyyat, Huzur is pak from having any sharik in his nubuwwat. So the jawhar of husn, essence of beauty in him is not divided, distributed. He is of the highest stage in his beauty. Leave aside what the Christians said about their prophet, then praise him as you like, but do so wisely. Wahtakimi, meaning use hikmat and wisdom when praising him. Don't go away from the hikmat and wisdom. And relate to him, his zat, whatever you want of nobility and honor, and attribute to his exalted state whatever you will of his greatness. Because Rasulullah's merit cannot be overstated by mouths of men. If a miracle could equal to his stature in magnitude, the mere mention of his name would revive the decaying bones. Meaning, Isa alayhi salam used to say, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, and then blow on a dead person who would come to life. Rasulullah's status is also such that if his ayat and signs and mu'jizat which Allah gave him were according to his higher status, then his name would revive the dead and bring them back to life. That's how high Allah gave him status. لَمْ يَمْتَحِنَّا بِمَا يَعْيَوْ بِهِ. He did not test us with miracles which the intellect would fail to grasp, because he was very eager for us. Therefore, we never wondered nor wavered. Meaning he did not tell us, many philosophers and they talk such things that people can't understand. Now he never did anything or say anything which would be beyond our intellect and understanding. All his miracles, mu'jizat which are narrated are understandable. Human beings cannot grasp his inner state and his spirituality, and in his qurb and bu'd, they are all munfahim and speechless. He is like the sun which looks small from distance, but when you go close up to it, then it dazzles you and overwhelms you. And how can people who are sleeping and in slumber grasp his reality and haqiqat? They are just distracted by dreams. People are into dreams, they are just dreaming, and meaning dreaming of this world and other things and busy with worldly pursuits. How can such people understand the great reality of him sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Then he says in the verse 51, the extent that we know about him is that he is a human being. This is the couplet where he got stuck and he couldn't read further. So Huzur said in the dream, come on, read further, read more. And then he said, وَأَنَّهُ خَيْرُ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ كُلِّهِمِ. And he is the best among the khalq of Allah, creation of Allah. I've read here this status of Sheikh Shazili rahmatullah alayhi. Sheikh Abu Hassan al-Shazili rahmatullah alayhi. Abu Bakr al-Busiri rahmatullah alayhi was connected to Sheikh Abu Hassan al-Shazili. He was his Sheikh in Shazili Silsila. So Sheikh Abu Hassan al-Shazili knew about this Qasidah. So once there was this mulhid, atheist, Dahriya, Bedin, who was discussing some matter with him, Abu Hassan al-Shazili, and Sheikh said that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best of Allah's creation. He said, no, how can you say that? How can you prove that? And he just recited this share. فَمَبْلَغُ الْعِلْمِ فِيهِ أَنَّهُ بَشَرٌ. The most we know about him, that he is a human being, but at the same time he is the best خَيْرُ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ كُلِّهِمِ. That night, he saw, Shaykh Abul Hasan al-Shazili saw Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a dream. And Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam confirmed that, Shazili, what you said was right. So this share was accepted by Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the dream of Shaykh Abu Bakr al-Busiri rahmatullah alayhi as well, and Abu Hasan al-Shazili rahmatullah alayhi as well. وَكُلُّ آيٍ أَتَى الرُّسُلُ الْكِرَامُ بِهَا. All the signs brought by the noble prophets before him came to them through his light alone. We explained this over there. فَإِنَّهُ شَمْسُ فَضْلٍ. He is like the sun of the fadl and grace, and they are like the stars. They reveal their lights for people in darkness. ये जो तर्जमा इन्होंने लिया है ना, ये असल में किसी और का तर्जमा ले लिया है. मैंने कहा था यार मेरा तर्जमा रखते नहीं इसमें, तो मेरा तर्जमा थोड़ा सिंपल था, इन्होंने जरा हाई इंग्लिश वाला तर्जमा ले लिया है. इंशाल्लाह नेक्स्ट एडिशन में इसको थोड़ा सिंपल ट्रांसलेशन करवा देंगे. ये जब छपी ये किताब तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह बहुत अच्छे अच्छे कमेंट्स आए. तो एक दोस्त ने कहा कि मौलवी साहब ये इंग्लिश जो ट्रांसलेट किया है कपलेट का, ये थोड़ा बहुत हैवी है, ये आपका इजी ट्रांसलेशन होता तो अच्छा होता, वो इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड होता. तो इसलिए यहाँ पर भी ट्रांसलेटर की ज़रा सी गलती हुई है. देखो ना क्या गलती है. उसने क्या कहा, बाउंड इन अ सन and they are its orbiting planets, revealing its light for humanity in the darkness of night. तो क्या होना चाहिए, he is the shams and the sun of fadl and grace, and they are the stars, and the stars reveal their light to people in darkness. Meaning at night, the world is in the middle, the sun is on the left, the stars are on the right. So the stars themselves don't have any light in them, they are like mirrors. So the light of the sun shines on that mirror, and that mirror gives the light to the earth on this side. So Huzur is like the sun, the Anbiya are like the stars. They take their light from Huzur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they reveal that light to people in darkness. Akrim bi khalqin khuluq. Now the next couplet, hatta idha tala'at, is not Busiri, it's for those who did tazmeen and they added the share in there. That's why Maulana Anwar Sahib did not put 54 number on there. He kept it separate. Akrim bi khalqi nabiyyin zanahu khuluqun. How excellent is the, यहाँ birth कर दिया है, birth नहीं, यहाँ तो उसका होना चाहिए खल्क के माना feature. How excellent are the features and the body of Nabi, who is beautified by khuluq, akhlaq and adat. Bil husni mustamilin bil bishri muttasimi, which is consisting of beauty and with smiling face it is attributed. मैंने वो समझा दिया है नीचे. कज़हरी फी तरफिन, समझा दिया इसको exquisite as lily flower, like the lily flower blossoms, he is like that nice tender, and in tenderness and exquisiteness he is like that flower. Wal badri fi sharafin, he is like the full moon in honor and sharafat. And wal bahri fi karami, he is as magnanimous as the ocean. And dahri fi himami, persistent like time. Time is persistent, time keeps moving. He was always on the move, he never stopped. And his vision was so far, he wanted this deen. He's in Makkah Mukarramah, but he wanted that deen to spread around the whole world. He was worried about the whole world, north, south, east, west, until the day of Qiyamah. So his himmat and his aspirations and his hopes were so high that we can't even get anywhere near it. This is what Hassan ibn Thabit said, lahu himamun la muntaha li kibariha wa himmatu sughra ajallu min ad-dahri. I've mentioned it there. Due to his majesty, even when alone, he seems surrounded by military might and cohorts of courtiers. Some people have this awe that even if they are alone, you feel their presence. Now, he is Rasulullah. His presence was felt by everyone around him. Allah gave him that presence. He had that presence and awe. Even if he's alone, it looks like there's a big army around him. And he was so brave that, we will read. Once there was some heavy thunderous noise in Medina, and people at night, people woke up and they were scared that some army has come for a sudden attack. So they get up quickly and they get their weapons and wear their body armor and sword and spear, arrow, and move towards the mountain where the noise came from. And what do they see? Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam is coming from that side, and he's saying, I've covered the whole area, gone around the mountains, is no army or nothing, go back to sleep. And he had a sword around his neck, and he was riding on a horse which did not have a saddle on it. Unsaddled horse, he just jumped off the horse and he ran and he checked everything out, and he came back and he calmed everybody down. Go back to sleep, you need not worry. Alone. In Battle of Hunain, everybody was retreating, but he was moving forward, to the extent that at one point he only had 100 men or so around him. And then way further, there was only Abu Sufyan and few people around him, but he was moving into the midst of the army. And then he took some soil and said, Shahatil wujuh, may these faces be uglified. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent that soil into the eyes of everyone that was there, and they started rubbing their eyes. And then the Muslims attacked and they gained victory. So he was like, he's alone, but he looks like he's an army himself. كَأَنَّمَا اللُّؤْلُؤُ الْمَكْنُونُ فِي صَدَفٍ. It is as if precious pearls locked in their shells poured forth from his sweet mouth and smile. Meaning, when he spoke, like pearls were coming out of his mouth. And when he smiled, it was so beautiful smile. There is no perfume that is as sweet smelling as the earth that holds his noble form. Meaning, let alone his life. He was full of perfume during his life. Even after his death, his grave is filled with that perfume. طُوبَى لِمُنْتَشِقٍ مِّنْهُ وَمُلْتَسِمٍ. Blessed are they who breathe that fragrance or kiss the Mubarak Rawza of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Here comes to close the chapter 3. We still got 7 chapters left. Chalo, chapter 4 is about Milad Sharif. आप पढ़ोगे? पढ़ो बाबा पढ़ो, एरा पढ़ो, ट्यून के साथ पढ़ो और जोर से पढ़ो.
أبان مولده عن طيب عنصره يا طيب مبتدأ منه ومختتم. His birth revealed the purity of his elemental nature, all pure from first to last. يوم تفرس فيه الفرس أنهم قد أنذروا بحلول البؤس والنقم. That day the Persians perceived in truth that they had been forewarned and impending difficulties and disasters. وبات إيوان كسرى وهو منصدع كشمل أصحاب كسرى غير ملتئم. That evening the emperor's throne room cracked into pieces like the solidarity of his retinue beyond repair. والنار خامدة الأنفاس من أسف عليه والنهر سار العين من سدم. The magician's fire expired out of sorrow. The Euphrates River forgot its course out of grief. وساء ساوة أن غاضت بحيرتها ورد واردها بالغيظ حين ضمير. The shocked village of Sawa watched its water dry up. Anyone searching for water came back mad with thirst. كأن بالنار ما بالماء من بلد حزنا وبالماء ما بالنار من ظلم. As if fire were as wet as water from sorrow, and water took on fire's inflammable nature. وَالْجِنُّ تَهْجِفُ وَالْأَنْوَارُ سَاطِعَةٌ وَالْحَقُّ يَظْهَرُ مِنْ مَعْنًا وَمِنْ كِلَى الْكَلِمِ. Jinn cried out from afar, and the flare of his birth lit up the darkened land. The truth became plain as day in word and meaning. عموا وصموا فإعلان البشائر لم تسمع وبارقة الإنذار لم تشم. Yet they were blinded and deafened by denial. So the good news went unheard and the warning flashes unseen. من بعد ما أخبر الأقوام كاهنهم بأن دينهم
معوج لم يقم.
معوج لم يقم. And all this after even their own diviners declared their creed could no longer stand up on its own. وبعد ما عاينوا في الأفق من شهب منقضة وفق ما في الأرض من صنم. And even after they witnessed comets crashing on the skyline, falling to earth as their idols fell on their faces. حتى غدا عن طريق الوحي منهزم من الشياطين يقفو إثر منهزم. Until demons diverted from revelation's path followed the footsteps of other devils who fled in defeat. كأنهم هربا أبطال أبرهة أو عسكر بالحصى من راحتيه رمي. Fleeing like the wretched combatants of Abraha, like the army routed by pebbles hurled from his hand.
أبان مولده عن طيب عنصره. His birth revealed the purity of his elemental status. يا طيب مبتدأ منه ومختتم. How fine is his origin and how pure is his end, meaning from beginning to last. Abana yubinu ibanatan, to reveal, to show. To his Mawlid Sharif and his birth showed how pure was his unsur. Unsur means asl, rukn. So how pure was his zat and his origin and his root was revealed by his Wiladat-e Sharifa. We'll explain it in the following couplets. Ya tiba mubtada'in minhu wa mukhtatami. How beautiful and pleasant is his ibtida and his intiha. From beginning to end, first to last, he is pleasant and beautiful. يوم تفرس فيه الفرس أنهم. That day the Persians perceived in truth that they had been forewarned of impending difficulties and disasters. Tafarrasa is from ilmul firasat, to see from by way of firasat. And furs is plural of Faris, Persians. The Persians realized that, some great warning, huge warning has come. And this warning is of hululul bu's wal niqam, that difficulties and disasters are approaching. How were they warned? وَبَاتَ إِيوَانُ كِسْرَى وَهُوَ مُنْصَدِعٌ. That evening, the Emperor Kisra, Khosros, his throne room cracked. And it was cracked like the solidarity of his retinue beyond repair was cracked. This is reference to the first Kisra, Naushirwan ibn al-Adil. The second was Parvez ibn Hurmuz ibn Yazdajrad ibn Naushirwan. And what happened was, there was a sort of an earthquake, and his palace shook, and 14 pillars fell. Now there were hundreds of pillars, 14 pillars fell, so there was lots of damage. Now he realized that something huge is happening, otherwise this wouldn't happen. This is one sign. 14 was indicated that was interpreted that after 14 emperors and kings, your dynasty will perish. When he was told of this, he said, 14 it'll take long. Maybe take few hundred years. So I'm not worried. But within a few years, 1, 2, 3, daradar, they all fell. And in the time of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, the whole Kisra dynasty was wiped out. وَالنَّارُ خَامِدَةُ الْأَنفَاسِ. Second sign that happened was that the fire, it expired out of sorrow. And the river Euphrates forgot its course of grief, out of grief. The fire which was burning in the palace of Kisra suddenly extinguished. Now, 24 hours there were attendants who would put wood in the fire and keep it burning, like the Olympic torch. Olympic torch is always burning. Even if they were to take it from one country to another for Olympics, let's say the Olympics is in China, so they keep it burning throughout the flight as well. And the ceremony is conducted because they are fire worshippers, they worship fire. So they want to keep it alive. Over here, the Persians were fire worshippers. The night in which Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was born, that fire was also extinguished. A sign that he's come to extinguish the fire of shirk. And وَالنَّهْرُ سَاهِلْ عَيْنِ مِنْ سَدَمِ. The river also, suddenly the water of the river went down and it receded. And Sawata, Sawa, name of an area. Around it were many sawami' of Yahud and kana'is of Nasara, synagogues and churches. They were grieved that their buhaira, their lake, has dried up. And those who went to get water from there returned angry because they were thirsty and they couldn't find water there. So the Sawa water, the lake Sawa water, it also went down, and the Jews and the Christians were shocked that why has this happened? This was another sign that things are now going to change. كأن بالنار ما بالماء بالمنن तो तर्जुमा देख लो والجن تهتف والأنوار ساطعة. The jinns cried out from afar, and the Nur and Anwar lit up in the dark land, and truth became clear and plain as day in word and in meaning. Meaning, there are incidents of jinns crying out. Right? The night in which Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was born, many jinns realized, because sometimes jinns can perceive things which other people can't. So they realized that things are changing, and they cried out. And the kahins, the soothsayers, who have friendship with jinn, the jinns inform them that look, bas, our days are up now, numbered. So the jinns also cried out, and Anwar went up and lit up, and Haqq began to appear from word and meanings. Everywhere Haqq was being established now, started. Ammu wa sammu. However, in spite of this, they became blind and deaf, and these glad tidings and good news announcement were not heard, and the lightning of warning flashes were not seen. People did not pay heed and did not pay attention. Even after, min ba'di ma akhbarat aqwam, 67, even after the kahins and the soothsayers informed the people that their crooked deen will no longer stay now, the time is up and it's going to end. And even after ayanu fil ufuqi min shuhubin, in the horizons they saw the comets, Shihab Thaqib, the shooting stars which are shot at them, and they were falling according to the falling of the sanam and the boots on the earth. In many places, massive idols which had been standing firm, they just fell on their faces, like the stars which were being shot. There's detail in there When Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, Wahi was going to come, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put special protocol on the heavens and the skies, and the shayateen and jinn were not allowed to go up there and eavesdrop and listen to the conversation of the malaika, because Quran was now going to come. So they were stopped from penetrating into the skies and going up. حتى غدا عن طريق الوحي منهزم, until demons were diverted from the revelation's path, following footsteps of other devils who fled in defeat. When shayateen and jinn tried to go up, they were driven away and shot at. Details are in there. When they were running away, they looked like the combatants and the warriors of Abraha, or an army who were hurled with stones and pebbles from his hands. Indication is Abraha, the elephants, how Ababil came and the whole army was dispersed. So the shayateen run for their life like that army of Abraha. There's detail in there, you can read it. Nabzan bihi ba'da tasbihin, when Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam read tasbih and threw at them, like Nabzal Musabbih min Ahshamul Taqimi, like Yunus alayhi salam did tasbih in the belly of the fish. So the pebbles did tasbih in the hands of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know the incident of Abu Jahl, right? Referring there. Abu Jahl came and he said, Muhammad, tell me what's in my hand. Am I believing you? And Huzur said, that's easy peasy. I can tell you what's in your hand. What if I was to instruct the thing in your hand to declare Kalmah Shahadat? And then I say, take your hand close to your ears. You've got some pebbles in your hand and hear what they say. And he took his hand to his ears and they were saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Abu Jahl threw those pebbles, you done something to me, and ran away. This is that the pebbles read tasbih. Chaliye aage padho Maulana Sahab. Now he is going on to Fasl Rabi' about some miracles of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Ji.
مولاي صل وسلم دائما ابدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم جاءت لدعوته الاشجار ساجدة تمشي اليه على ساق بلا قدم.
We'll have to be quick now. Chaliye.
His cold trees came
This is miracle of the trees which came running to him upon their roots without any feet. I've mentioned some stories in there about how the trees came running to his feet. Ji.
Footless tree trunks trudging towards him. كأنما سطرت سطرا لما كتبت فروعها من بديع الخط في اللقب, penning a perfect inscription with their branches, a wondrous sign.
Meaning, when the trees came running, they made a line. Huzur said, oh tree, come here. And the tree came running, its roots came out, and it came running without feet. And it made two lines. When you mow the lawn, you can see the line where you're mowing. So similarly, there are two lines. And he said, go back. And the tree went back and stood up back on its uproots. The story is mentioned there. Chaliye. Another sign of the clouds which used to shade him. Ji.
Like the cape of clouds that trailed after him, to shield him from the sky's noon fire hotter than the oven.
Chalo.
أقسمت بالقمر المنشق إن له من قلبه نسبة مبرورة القسم. I swear by the Lord of the moon split in two, so deeply involved with his heart, and this oath is true.
I swear by the moon which was split into two. Lord बढ़ा दिया, it should be in brackets, right? Because this is another couplet on which some people object, that you are not allowed to take qasam of other than Allah. And over here he is taking qasam of the moon, creation. But we say, why? Akkal wapar istemal karo, yaar. There might be muzaf mahzoof. Aqsam to be Rabbil Qamar. Right? Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, aflaha wa abihi in sadaqa. Now over there we ta'wil, aflaha wa rabbi abihi in sadaqa. So this is why the translator added the Lord in there. Right? So I take qasam by the moon which was split by his hand. Indeed, the moon has some nisbat with his heart, connection with his heart, and this oath is true, qasam. I can say Qasam, the moon has some connection with his heart. If there's no connection, then why did he point like this and split into two? Right? The mu'jiza is mentioned there. Chaliye.
وما حوى الغار من
Quran also said اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر. Chaliye.
وما حوى الغار من خيل ومن كرم وكل طرف من الكفار عنه عمي.
Another miracle of his. Chaliye.
By the Lord of the cave in which he hid, where a posse of blind skeptics failed to find him.
Meaning, this was the mu'jiza. They went up to Ghar Saur and they were blind that they could not see him. He was there right before their eyes, but they could not see him. So this is also his mu'jiza, that they got right to there, but they still couldn't see him. Allah blinded them. Chaliye.
فالصدق في الغار والصديق لم يرما وهم يقولون ما بالغار من أرمي. The truth and his friend, the truthful, kept quiet in the cave, while outside the search party grumbled, it's just an empty cave.
Siddiq was inside and Sidq was inside, while the enemies, mushrikeen, were saying, Ma bil ghari min arimi. Arim means ahad. Ma bil ghari min ahadi. There's no one in there. Chaliye.
ظن الحمام وظن العنكبوت على خير البرية لم تنسج ولم تحمي. They were wrong to think a spider couldn't weave a curtain or a dove hover lovingly over creation's crown.
They thought that the kabutar, pigeon, and they thought that the spider did not weave spider's web on the entrance and did not make the nest at the entrance. Because when they came there, right, Allah Pak had quickly sent the kabutar and the spider with great speed. Within a few seconds, the web is done. And the nest is made. And kabutar is sitting inside with the eggs. So when they came up to the, Mount Thor, and the one who was helping them follow the footsteps, he said, this is where the trail ends. Right? I don't know where they went from here. So they said, well, they can't have gone in there, because this spider's web and the nest must have been there before Muhammad was born. It looks really, if they went in there, it would have been broken. But they can't be in there. बहुत झालियाँ हैं इसके ऊपर तो चले गए वहाँ से. अल्लाह पाक ने ज़ाहिरी असबाब, एक तो उनको अंधा भी कर दिया, दिखाया नहीं. Abu Bakr was inside. He was saying, Ya Rasulullah, if one of them was to sit down and look inside, he would see us. And Huzur said, don't worry, Ma zannuka bisnayn, Allahu salisuhuma. What can you say regarding the two, the third of whom is Allah? La tahzan, inna Allah ma'ah. Chaliye.
Allah's protection was all he needed. No excess armor, strategic lookout towers, and powerful fortresses.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's special protection did not let the need arise of all these powerful fortresses and strategic outlook towers and armor and weapons. Chaliye.
ما سامني الدهر ضيما واستجرت به إلا ونلت جواره.
Wiqayatullah is perhaps indicating to us, Wallahu ya'simuka minan nas. Allah promised to protect him. Allah protect him here as well. Chaliye. If ever people of my time intended to mistreat me, I simply took refuge in his harbor and no harm came. Meaning whenever time, they relate things to time. Shuara, they always do that. फलक ने इस कदर रुलाया, हंसाया तो न था जो अब इस कदर रुलाने लगा. यानी ज़माने ने हमको क्यों इतना रुलाया? ज़माना हम पर जुल्म करता है. We have, newspapers named the Times, magazines named Time. So, dahr, time, people relate things to time. So, Shair is saying here, time sometimes, did zulm on me. But whenever it did zulm on me, I took refuge in him and I found refuge and he was there for me, he saved me. Chaliye. Never did I seek the richness of both worlds from his hand, except that I received nada and generosity of khair from the best of those who can be Don't deny wahi in his dream. Chaliye, indeed he has a heart. When the eyes sleep, the heart does not sleep. Meaning even wahi used to come in his sleep as well. When he's awake, but in his sleep as well, wahi would come. Chaliye,
وذاك حين بلوغ من نبوة
this wahi used to come to him after he reached the nabuwat. So you can't deny the regarding him the halat of dream visions. You know, when he was young and he was becoming baligh, then I'm not talking about that time. Wahi didn't come to him that time. I'm talking about when he reached the age of 40, and then wahi used to come into him in his sleep. I'm talking about that time, not before. Not before when he was young in his youth. Chaliye.
تبارك الله ما وحي بمكتسب
Blessed is Allah. Wahi cannot be earned through efforts.
ولا نبي على غيب
Nor can a Nabi be doubted with regards to ghaib and the unseen. Chaliye. Wahi, nobody can become Nabi by excessive worship. Namaz, roza, zakat, ibadat. Nah. Nabuwat is wahabi, not kasbi. It's a gift, special gift from Allah. So Allah gave that gift to His beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So don't object on that. Don't question this. Wahi was special thing from Allah, gift from Allah. Chaliye.
أم أبرأت وصبا باللمس راحته وأطلقت أربا من رفقة اللمس.
How many sick were healed by the lightness of His touch? How many in need were freed from mental affliction? Hi. Mention some stories over here, right? Abra'at wasiban bil lamsi rahatuhu. Many were sick and he only touched them. He wiped his hand over them and they were treated. And many were taken by some insanity, some jinn had grasped them and he just blew over them, wiped over them, and they were immediately released from that. That was his maqam. Right? Some incidents are narrated in there. Read them, inshallah, you'll enjoy them. Chaliye.
وأحيت السنة الشهباء.
Do you remember in Ghar Thawr what happened? In the soul of Abu Bakr Siddiq, the snake bit, and he was in great pain. And what did he do? Applied his saliva and finished. All the pain went away. And no pain. Abu Bakr traveled to Hijrat, and along the way he never experienced any pain. And after that he remained alive for nearly 13 years. So this was him. And some other stories mention Sahabi's eye. He was hit in the eye, struck, and his eye fell out of the socket. Abu Qatada. And he held it in his hand and he ran to the Prophet. Ya Rasulullah, my eye's been hit. And he come here, closer. And he took the eye and he just put it inside the socket. And it's done. He could see again. And then he grew old, and the Ravi says, فَكَانَتْ أَصَحَّ عَيْنَيْهِ. It never turned weak. The other eye went weak, but this one never went weak. Because Huzur had placed it in his place. So his touch of his hand cured many sick people. I have mentioned here or in the Muqaddamah, Hazrat Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madani Rahmatullah alayhi, one of his murid Haji Sahab came and he said, Hazrat, हमारी बच्ची को फुला शिकायत है और बीमारी में उसकी आंखें चली गई. She's become blind. कुछ वजीफा दे दो, कुछ दम कर दो. Hazrat said, ये Qasidah Burdah का ये शेर नंबर 85 पढ़ो और उस पर दम करो. कम अबरात वसिबन बिल्लम से राहतुहु वातलकत अरबन में इबकतिल लममी. रोजाना इसको पढ़ के उस पर दम करो, हाथ फेरो उसके ऊपर. उन्होंने हाथ फेरा, कुछ दिन में उसकी आईसाइट वापस आ गई. तो ये तो वजीफा है, हजरत मदनी का वजीफा है. चलिए. Years of drought were brought to life by his dua until they resembled an ivory inlay in the midst of ebony seasons. इन्होंने तर्जुमा कर दिया है, मैंने उधर एक्सप्लेन भी किया है. ये है ना drought, famine. A sahabi comes, just let me make dua. And he just says, Allahumma asqina, Allahumma asqina, Allahumma asqina. Bas, that's all he had to say. हमको तो लंबे वजीफा खींचना पड़ता है, लंबी दुआएं पढ़नी पड़ती है. बस उन्होंने इतना ही कहा, बारिश आके बादल आ गए, जोर की बारिश शुरू हो गई. तो ये है कि ऐसे कहत वाले सालों को भी उन्होंने लाइफ दे दी और ब्रीद इन कर दिया. चलिए. With a cloud which brought lots of rain, أو خلط البطاح بها, you would feel that the open areas had سيب من اليم أو سيل من العرم, sea waves or flood from burst dams. चलिए. This is, चलो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, chapter 4 खत्म हुआ, chapter 5 खत्म हुआ, chapter 6 शुरू करो जल्दी. Chapter 6 is about Quran Sharif and its sharafat and its praise. चलिए. Meaning these mu'jizat were physical. Now you see his spiritual mu'jiza, Quran Sharif. Leave me alone so I may describe the ayat of his which appear like the appearing of the fire of ziyafat and hospitality at night on mountains. चलिए. A pearl's beauty will multiply when it's strung in a string with other pearls. However, its value does not diminish when it is displayed on its own as well. So every ayat is like a pearl, whether it's in the surah or whether you read it separately. चलिए. मदीह. How can a praising poet hope to plumb the depth of its noble virtues and majestic traits? चलिए. These signs are from Allah of what is real radiate into the present, eternal gems from the jewel box of infinite the merciful. Meaning these ayat haqqaniyya and truthful verses came from Allah and they were fresh for us, but they were qadeem and eternal, and they were sifat of the one who is mawsuf bil qidam, meaning Allah. Meaning kalam is an attribute, speech is a sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is qadeem, so his kalam is also qadeem. This is rad on Mu'tazila. If you read Ilmul Kalam, then you will understand this. चलिए. Though not in time, they tell us of time, of what awaits us at the resurrection, as well as what befell past people such as Ad and Iram. They are not connected to time, but they tell us about life after death. Quran speaks about Jannat, Jahannam, Akhirat, and it also speaks about Ad and Iram. Iramazatil Imad, Ad and previous nations. It talks about what happened to them so we can learn lesson from them. चलिए. They have continued to remain with us, Damat Ladina, and they have excelled the mu'jiza of all Anbiyas and surpassed their miracles because they came but did not last. Musa alayhi salam's asa turned into a snake, but only as long as he was alive. Once he died, the asa was also gone. He never turned into a snake after that. But our Prophet ﷺ's mu'jiza Quran, even after his death, is still remaining with us. चलिए. They are full of clear wisdom without double meanings, without any shubha in them. For a person who wants to create shiqaq and ikhtilaf and dissension, and وَمَا تَبْغِينَ مِنْ حِكَمِهِ, and this proof needs no judge. Meaning you don't need a judge to tell you this, you can see it for yourself. चलिए. Whenever these words were attacked, even the worst of their enemies were forced to retreat, pleading on their knees of peace. Meaning when enemies came but they heard Quran Sharif, they fell on their knees and accepted it. Some incidents are mentioned there. चलिए. Their eloquence deflects any opponent just as an honorable man prevents a villain from violating his home. Meaning the balaghat of Quran is such that it itself protects itself. Just as a ghayyur person, turns away a criminal from his hareem, from his ladies of his household. So similarly, Quranic verses themselves dispels and repel anybody who tries to attack Quranic ayat. Chaliye.
لها معان كموج البحر في مدد وفوق جوهره في الحسن والقيام.
They contain meanings as continual as ocean waves, yet exceed the ocean's treasure in both worth and beauty. Chaliye. Quran's ma'anis and meaning are like the ocean. You can keep getting me. Tafasir upon tafasir are written, but you can still write more about it. Chaliye. Their ajaib and surprises are not cannot be counted nor can be contained. Chaliye. Even if you read them out so many times, you never get bored of them. Chaliye.
قرت بها عين قارئها فقلت له لقد ظفرت بحبل الله فاعتصم.
The reciter's eyes were soothed by these Quranic verses. So I said to him, you have grasped the rope of Allah, now hold tight to it. When you read the Quran, you get that soothing effect. This is the power of Quran Sharif. Chaliye.
إن تتلوها خيفة من حرب نار لظى أطفأت حر لظى من ضدها الشباب.
If you were to recite Quranic ayat, when the fire's flames overwhelm you, its cool spring of flowing water will extinguish them and put them out. Meaning, if you were scared of the fire of Jahannam, read Quranic ayat, they will extinguish the fire of Jahannam for you. Chaliye.
كأنها الحوض تبيض الوجوه به من العصاة وقد جاءوه كالهمم.
As if they were a pool of paradise by which sharp black faces of disobedient are cleansed and brightened. Hawz Kausar cleans the dark faces. Quranic ayat are like that Hawz Kausar which cleans those who recite them. Chaliye.
وكالصراط وكالميزان عادلة فالقسط من غيرها في الناس لم يقم.
They are like the straight path and the scale set up in equity. Justice from any other source won't benefit its people. Gee.
ولا تعجبا لحسود الراحة ينكرها تجاهلا وهو عين الهادق الفهم.
Don't be surprised if a resentful soul denounces or denies them. There will be many jealous people of Quran. They will deny that Quran is not a word of Allah. It is something made by Muhammad itself. They are jealous. They know deep down their hearts that Quran's haqqaniyat. So don't be surprised at such hasideen who begin to deny it. Tajahulan, by way of deliberate ignorance, feigning ignorance, whilst despite a subtle understanding, in spite of the fact that they know the reality, but they just try to extinguish the power of Quran Sharif. They can't do that. Chaliye.
قد تنكر العين ضوء الشمس من رمد وينكر الفم طعم الماء من سقم.
Because often an infected eye cannot bear soothing sunlight. The sunlight is dazzling, but infected eye cannot bear it. And many times the sick tongue finds no comfort in sweet water. The water is sweet, but the tongue is sick, so it feels it's bitter and sour. Chaliye. We move on to the next chapter regarding Isra and Mi'raj. Alhamdulillah, 100 couplets done, only 50 left now. D.
مولاي صل وسلم دائما ابدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم يا خير من يمم العافون ساحته سعيا وفوق متون الاينق الرسم.
O the best of those whose courtyards are sought by seekers of solace, hurrying on swift feet or riding on the backs of trail-blazing camels. Ya is nida to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam. O the best among those whose courtyards are sought by seekers of solace, hurrying and rushing on swift feet or riding on the backs of trail-blazing camels. This Sahibul Umdah says that this is indicating towards people who go to visit the qabr of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Rawza Sharifa in Medina Munawwara. That people go around here and there to visit others. You are the best whose Rawza and whose grave can be visited. This is why when you go to Medina Sharif, what should your niyat be? Visiting the Rawza of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and offering salams to him. Because he said, Man zarani fil madinati muhtasiban kana fi jiwari. Whosoever visits me in Medina with niyat of sawab, then he will be in my jiwar and protection. In one riwayat he said, Man zarani ba'da wafati faka'annama zarani fi hayati. Whoever visited me after my death is like one who visited me during my life. So, Ya khayra man yammamal afuna sa'atuhu. You are the best among those who can be visited on camels. Chaliye.
ومن هو الآية الكبرى لمعتبر ومن هو النعمة العظمى لمغتنم.
You are the greatest sign for the discerning, the most blessed gift for those desiring gain. Chaliye. Now after calling him, Ya is khitab. This is something which people, object on as well. But this is khitab lima fi zihn. It's in his mind, right? It's not that he's thinking that he's like Maulana Muhim Khan is in front of me and I'm saying, oh Maulana Muzammil. No, if I am writing a letter to Maulana Muzammil Sahab or sending a text to him, I say, oh Maulana Muzammil. So he's in my zihn. I'm addressing the one who's in my mind. Right? That often happens. So there's no harm in there. Our Hazrat said this. Right? If you say Ya Muhammad or Ya Rasulullah and you believe that he is present and he is listening to me, that would be wrong. Because omnipotent, omnipresent is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Makhluk cannot be omnipresent. He is makhluk. However, you could say, I'm not saying say it because some people have made it their shi'ar, but these ash'ar, Ya khayra man yammamal afuna sahatahu, this address is to Mafi Zehn, who's in the heart and mind, so he's talking to them. Chaliye, like a mother who loves her son and is going to study far away elsewhere. So she's yearning for him, and sometimes even when she's having sleepless nights, oh mere Muhammad, tu kahan chala gaya? Oh mere Muhammad, oh mere Musa, and oh mere Abdullah, tu kahan mujhe chhod ke chala gaya? Oh Abdullah, why did you leave me? I can't even sleep after you've gone. So she doesn't feel that Abdullah is in front of me. She's just talking to the one who's in mind. So there is a slight, very thin line. If you cross that line, to gadbad. If you stay within that line, to gadbad nahi. Chaliye. So this is khitab to him in this manner. Chaliye. You travel from one haram by night to another haram, just as the moon travels in dark nights. Chaliye. You spend the night ascending until you reach the station of 2 bows length or nearer. فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْدَنَا is indicated. Chaliye.
وقدمتك جميع الأنبياء بها والرسل تقديم مخدوم على قدمي.
All the previous prophets and messengers gave precedence to you the way a generous host defers to a guest of honor. So they gave preference to you. They said, you go ahead. It is for you. You have been invited. We can't go any further. They were waiting for you on the 7 heavens. All the itself who was on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. They let you go ahead. आप जाओ, आप ऊपर जाओ, आप जाओ, आपको बुलाया गया है, मुझे नहीं बुलाया गया है. चलिए. وأنت تخترق السبع الطباق بهم في موكب كنت فيه صاحب العلم. Then you started out penetrating the 7 heavens with them in procession behind you, and you there standard bearer. حتى إذا لم تدع شأوا لمستبق من الدنو ولا مرقا لمستنم, until you left no space of divine presence for others to attain, nor any summit for seekers of height to aspire to. चलिए.
نفذت كل مقام بالإضافة إذ
You achieved every station by rightful possession, addressed by Allah with exaltation, a unique subject in heavenly syntax. Chaliye.
كيما تفوز بوصف أي مستقر
In this way you attain the station of arrival, veiled from the gaze of onlookers, a secret sealed in silence. Ji. فحزت كل فخار غير مشترك وجزت كل مقام غير مزدحم. Thus you gathered every honor without peer and traversed every station in solitude. وجل مقدار ما وليت من رتب. What preeminence you have been entrusted with. وعز إدراك ما أوليت من نعمي. Past counting are all the blessings granted to you. So you, any maqam and station which any person could be given was given to you. Allah took you so high when nobody was taken. Musa alayhi salam's mi'raj was up to Mount Tur, and your mi'raj is above 7 heavens. So Allah gave you that special maqam. بشرى لنا معشر الإسلام إن لنا من العناية ركنا غير منهدم. Good news for us, the people of Islam. We have a pillar of providence utterly imperishable. لما دعا الله داعينا لطاعته بأكرم الرسل كنا أكرم الأمم. इसका तर्जुमा इन्होंने किया, you called us unto God's obedience. When He named you the most eminent of emissaries, we became the noblest of nations. I think it should be when Allah titled that Nabi who called us to His obedience with the title of Akramul Rusul, we became Akramul Umam. He is Afzalul Rusul and we are Afzalul Umam. Chaliye aage. Bas Alhamdulillah, chapter 7 Isra Mi'raj finished. Now a little bit about his jihad, bravery and ghazawat. Ji.
على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم
Ameen.
راعت قلوب العداء
Amba'u bi'athatihi.
أنباء بعثته كنبأة أجفلت غفلا من الغنم.
Mention of his mission struck fear in the hearts of truth's enemies. The way the deep roar of a lion panics a herd of distant goats, distracted goats. When he came and his enemies, ran for their lives, like when a lion roars and the goats run. Chaliye.
ما زال يلقاه في كل معترك حتى حكوا بالقنا لحما على وضع.
He continued to encounter them in every field of battle until, due to piercing spears, they resembled flesh on skewers. Chaliye.
وضوا الفرار فكادوا يغبطون به أشلاء شالت مع الأقبال والرفم.
They were filled with the longing to flee, almost envying the carrion carried off by eagles and vultures.
تمضي الليالي ولا يدرون عدتها ما لم تكن من ليالي الأشهر الحرم.
Nights passed, but they lost track of time except among the ironic nights of the sacred months of truce.
كأنما الدين ضيف حل ساحتهم بكل قرن إلى لحم العذاب قرم.
As if the deen was a guest who had arrived at their very doorstep, accompanied by brave men hungry for their harmful enemies and adversaries. Chaliye.
يجر بحر خميس فوق ساحبة
Sabihatin.
سابحة
Followed by an ocean of hosts mounted on swift steeds, pouring forth, engulfing wave after wave of heroic warriors. Ji.
من كل منتدب لله محتسب يسطو بمستأصل للكفر والمسلم.
Each answering God's call, expecting divine requital, bravely engaged in battle with weapons uprooting rejection of reality. Chaliye.
حتى غدت ملة الإسلام وهي بهم من بعد غربتها موصولة الراحل.
Until after its initial obscurity, the community of Islam, united, became bound by profound ties of kinship. Chaliye, explained in there, read it when you can. Chaliye.
مكفولة أبدا منهم بخير أب وخير بعل فلم تيتم ولم تئم.
Always protected from enemies by the finest father and most gracious husband, they were never left orphaned nor suffered or widowhood. Chaliye.
والجبال فسل عنهم مصادمهم
Meaning the Sahaba. Chaliye.
ماذا رأى منهم في كل
The
مصطلح
Sahaba were like mountains, the strongest mountains. Just ask those who confronted them what it is they witnessed on every field of battle. وَسَلْ حُنَيْنًا وَسَلْ بَدْرًا وَسَلْ أُحُدًا. Ask Hunayn, Badr and Uhud. فُصُولَ حَتْفٍ لَهُمْ أَدْهَى مِنَ الْوَخَمِ. Destiny days more bitter than any drawn out death from the plague. المصدر البيض حمرا بعدما وردت من العدا كل مسود من اللمم. Polished silver swords streaked with glistering crimson after passing through the long black locks of their enemies' hair. Chaliye.
والكاتبين بسمر الخط ما تركت أقلامهم حرف الجسم غير منعجم.
As if they were scribes, their Indian spears' pens, they left nobody without diacritical dots and slant marks. Chaliye.
شاك السلاح لهم سيما تميزهم والوزن يمتاز بالسيما عن السلم.
Fully armed, they had a detail that set them apart, the way a thorny rose can be distinguished from a prickly thorn bush. Chaliye.
تهدي إليك رياح النسر نشرهم فتحسب الزهر في الأكمام كل دم.
The winds of their victories grant you fragrant news, such that you deem them flower buds of fortitude about to burst forth. Chaliye.
كأنهم في ظهور الخيل نبت ربا من شدة الحزم لا من شدة الحزن.
As if upon their backs of their steeds they were firmly rooted flowers on hilltops, held there not from tight saddle straps but from taut resolution. Chaliye.
طارت قلوب العلا من بأسهم فرقا فما تفرق بين البهم والبهاء.
This is about Sahaba and their battles. From the majesty of their might, enemies' hearts fled, unable to tell the difference between their goats' herds or war hordes. Chaliye.
ومن تكن برسول الله نصرته إن تلقاه الأسد في آجامها تجمي.
If one's victory is with the Messenger of Allah, then even lions happening upon him in their dens are left dazed and dumbfounded. Meaning, if Rasulullah's help is with you, then even lions will flee and run away from you. Chaliye.
ولن ترى من ولي غير منتصر به ولا من عدو غير مقتدر.
You shall never see a true ally of his unless he be victorious, nor a true enemy of his other than dejected and defeated. D.
أحل أمته في حرز ملته كالليث حل مع الأشبال في أجمي.
He placed his community in refuge of his way, just as the great lion retreats with its cubs to the safety of its lair. D.
كم جدلت كلمات الله من جدل فيه.
How often the words of Allah have halted his churlish contender, how often the Quran has conquered his quarrelsome foe.
كفاك بالعلم في الأمي معجزة في الجاهلية والتأديب في اليتم.
Such knowledge in an unlettered man, such refinement in an orphan, in the age of ignorance should suffice you as miracle of his truth. जी
مولاي صل وسلم.
ये चैप्टर नंबर 8 फिनिश हुआ, जिहाद गज़वात सहाबा के कुर्बानियाँ. अब आगे नंबर 9 तवस्सुल अन तअल्लुक़ बिअज़ियालिही. जी
مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم خدمته بمديح أستقيل به ذنوب عمر مضى في الشعر والقلم.
I have served him in this poetic praise, hoping to redeem the errors of a life misspent in courtly verse and patronage. Allah. Khadamtuhu, मैं खिदमत कर रहा हूँ कि I'm just trying to serve him by this madih and poetry of praise. I wish to make amends, redeem the sins of my life which was spent in share and khadam, doing khidmat of others and poetry. Meaning, Busiri Rahmatullah alayhi used to stay in the khidmat of the rulers and compose poetry for them. So he's saying, I have spent my life in the wrong way. Now I want to do khidmat of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not of them. So I'm doing his khidmat by this. Chaliye.
إذ قلداني ما تخشى عواقبه كأنني بهما هدي من النعم.
They both, meaning poetry and patronage, serving others, they both have fettered me with a yoke that portends a bad end, as if I were a sacrifice, a lamb singled out for slaughter. They force me to do things which I shouldn't have done. I have become like the sacrificial lamb. Chaliye. In both halats and pursuits, I obey the desire of a delirious youth, gaining nothing in the end but wrongs and remorse that follows. Chaliye. Allah. What a loss my soul has suffered in its commerce, in its trade and business, in exchange for this world. It didn't purchase the next, nor even enter into the transaction. Chaliye. I have suffered a huge loss by doing this. Chaliye. Whosoever sells his akhirat for this dunya, yabin lahul ghabnu fi bay'in wa fi salami, then the ghaban and loss will appear before him in his dealings, whether transaction or in bay' salam. Chaliye, needs a little bit of explanation. Chaliye. Even if I commit a sin, then my connection with the Prophet has not broken. And wala habli bimunsalimi, and my connection is still tightly bound, is not snapped from him. No, because I am a Muslim. فَإِنَّ لِي ذِمَّةً مِّنْهُ بِتَسْمِيَتِي, I have a simple connection with him and covenant with him because my name is Muhammad. وَهُوَ أَوْفَى الْخَلْقِ بِالذِّمَمِ, and of all creation he is the most faithful in keeping covenants. Meaning my name is also Muhammad, he is also Muhammad. We have a nisbat and connection with one another. Chaliye. In the next life, if he takes me bounteously by my hand, then say, what a jubilee. If not, then cry, what a catastrophe. If in Akhirat he grabs hold of me and takes me to Jannat, then that is, what a triumph and jubilee for me. Otherwise, if he doesn't, if he abandons me, then what a catastrophe. Chaliye. And yuhram al-raji. Far be it from to withhold his virtues from anyone in need, or that reaching his refuge one should return empty-handed, unprotected. Meaning it's not possible that someone who clings on to him, holds on to him, should be deprived. He never lets anyone go deprived. He will take care of my affairs. Chaliye. Ever since I have focused all my thoughts on praising him alone, he has proved the best of those who committed to my ultimate salvation. Meaning, I have made this will that I'm going to keep on praising him, and I have found him the best person with whom you can stick on to him. Chaliye. His charity and richness will not exclude a hand that poverty has soiled. See how rains bring forth flowers on foothills that were barren. Meaning he is extremely ghani, rich and sakhi, so he won't deprive me, he won't let go of me. Chaliye. I do not mean the flowers of dunya which the hands of Zuhair plucked by praising Harim. Harim ibn Hayyan was praised by Zuhair, and he gained lots of dawlat and wealth and money and gifts. So I don't want that type of gifts from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want other type of gift. Chaliye. Now the last chapter about munajat and ardul hajat. Ji.
مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم يا أكرم الخلق مالي من ألوذ به سواك عند حلول الحادث العممي.
O most generous one among the creation, who but you can I turn to when the universal cataclysm occurs? Ya Akram al Khalqi, O the most noble of the creation. Mali man aluzu bihi. I don't have anyone to cling on to, siwaka, except for you. In the hulul al-hadith al-amimi, when that haditha and calamity which will encompass everyone descends upon me. Now, some people cannot digest this. They say, Ya Akram al-Khalqi, he's calling on Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then he's saying, Man aluzu bi, I can't find anyone to cling on to. Did he not find Allah? Why did he say, Mali man aluzu bihi siwaka, no one but you, when the hulul al-hadith al-amimi? So we've explained this in the Muqaddamah, right? From page 15 to 35. I said in the first session, read that, the answer is in there. Answer is that, what did he say? Mali man aluzu bihi. And aluzu, laza yaluzu liwazan means to cling on to gain some solace and sukoon from. Right? He didn't say a'uzu, mali man a'uzu bihi. Because a'uzu means to seek refuge, to seek asylum. And this is what Allah only, a'uzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. But aluzu liwaz, clinging on, getting some sukoon, there's no harm in there. And it's in the hadith. Hazrat Ali Karamallahu Wajhu says, in the battlefield, he was the bravest, and kunna naluzu bihi. We would cling on to him and hide behind him. The bravest person was that who could stay close to him. So there is no harm in using the word aluzu. And this is mali man aluzu bihi, yani min al khalq. From the creation, there is no one to whom I can run and cling on to and seek some tasalli and help from except you. Because we are human beings. We need a role model. We need someone. So I don't want to go to any king or ruler or anyone. I'm going to come to Medina Sharif. I'm going to come to you. I'm going to ask you to help me. I'm going to get some tasalli from you. This is the meaning of the share. And then hulul al-hadith al-amimi, amami, is reference to the great catastrophe which is going to take place. What is the greatest catastrophe? On the day of Qiyamah, when the trumpet is blown and everyone is standing before Allah, and long time passes, the sun is on above the head, everybody is sweating and drowning in their sweat. At that time, you need someone to cling on to. That is the al-hadithul amam. And who's going to do the shafaat kubra? Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we will go to him and he will go to Allah and ask for shafaat. So he is referring to that al-hadithul amam. Chaliye. I mentioned here some couplets regarding tawassul. You read them, inshallah, maza aayega aapko. Chaliye. O Messenger of Allah, your preeminence is not diminished by my need, even if the most generous one should manifest as the avenger. Meaning, your maqam, your position is so high that if I was to ask you for something, it won't affect your position. When Al-Kareem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will have the tajalli with Ismi Muntaqim. Allah's tajalli and manifestations are of various types. Sometimes his tajalli is tajalli rahmat with the Ismi Raheem. So that is when he's showering his mercy on people. But other times his tajalli is tajalli of Muntaqim, when he is angry and he is avenging people. So on the day of Qiyamah, Inna Rabbi ghadib al-yawma ghadaban lam yaghdab qablahu mislahu wa lan yaghdab ba'dahu mislahu. So at that time, when Allah Kareem will be, his tajalli will be with intiqam. There's no one who can help me but you. So I need your help to do shafaat for me. Chaliye.
فإن من جودك الدنيا وضرتها ومن علومك علم اللوح والقلم.
From your largesse, meaning generosity, Jude, flows the good of this world and its counterpart in the next, meaning Akhirat. And from your knowledge is some understanding of the tablet and the pen. Min judika dunya wa dharrataha. From your sakhawat and generosity flows the dunya and its sokan, counterpart, meaning Akhirat. Dunya and Akhirat are two sokans. Hadith says it. Go into detail. But from your sakhawat, they came into existence. And from your knowledge, mean here is mean tab'iziyah. Tab'iziyah means some part. And some part of your knowledge is the knowledge of lawh and qalam. Lawh refers to fi lawhin mahfuz. And qalam refers to noon wal qalami wa ma yasturun. The original pen, awwalu ma khalaq Allahu al qalam, and told the qalam to write the taqdeer. So from your knowledge is the knowledge of lawh, qalam, lawh mahfuz, and the pen as well. Meaning Allah gave you so much knowledge that He gave you some knowledge from the lawh mahfuz and the qalam as well. When Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went in Mi'raj, did he not say, I heard the inscription of Malaika from lawh mahfuz? And was he not inspired with the ilm of awwalina wal akhirin? He is the most knowledgeable person to have set foot on the face of this earth. So Allah gave you so much knowledge that part of your knowledge was from lawh mahfuz and the qalam as well. Many maghibat and ghaibi ashya, information of the future and information of the past was given to you. You are the most knowledgeable person among all the creation of Allah, all the Anbiya, Awliya, human beings and all the Malaika and angels. Nobody was given as much knowledge as you were given. And also, Mullah Ali Qari Rahmatullah has written that Lawh Qalam's knowledge finishes at the blowing of trumpet. After that, what's going to happen in Akhirat and the Darajat and everything, that's not in Lawh Mahfuz. Right? But that knowledge was given to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as well. So your knowledge surpasses that knowledge which Allah had written in Lawh Mahfuz through the pen. This Mullah Ali Qari has explained this. Chaliye, he's explained 2-3 meanings. This is one of the meanings of it. So those who object on this share, their objection doesn't have any ground either. Chaliye. But few shares left now, finishing.
يا نفس لا تقنطي من زلة عظمت إن الكبائر في الغفران كاللمم.
O my nafs, do not despair of a mistake blown out of proportion. Indeed, when Allah forgives, even mortal sins become blunders, small. لا تقنطي من زلة عظمت. If you had committed a sin and you feel it's azim and huge, it's great, oh no. Even if you've committed murder or zina, or you've done so many wrongs, throughout your whole lives you've always been sinning, don't worry about the greatness of your sin. No matter how much sinful you are. Innal kaba'ira fil ghufrani kallamami. Kabira guna and major sins in comparison to maghfirat are like small minor things. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is on the forgiving side, He'll forgive everything. Imagine a 70-year-old kafir says, La ilaha illallah, and sab kuch maaf. Right? Allah forgives. Allah. Imagine that person who committed 100 murders from Bani Israel. Allah forgiveness pe aaye, sab maaf. So kabira gunas in maghfirat, in comparison to maghfirat, are like saghira gunas. Right? So don't worry, don't despair. Over here I've quoted the share of Abu Nawas. Ya Rabbi in azumat dhunubi kasratan falaqad alimtu bi anna afwaka a'zamu in kana la yarjuka illa muhsinun faman alladhi yad'u wa yarju al-mujrimu. أدعوك ربي كما أمرت تضرعا فإذا رددت يدي فمن ذا يرحم ما لي إليك وسيلة إلا الرجاء وجميل عفوك ثم إني مسلم ما لي سوى فقري إليك وسيلة. And those ash'ar, that I have my need for you, nobody else to help me. Even though my sins may be so great, but your maafi is greater. This reminds me of something. You must have heard of Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, the Zalim, right? He killed over 120,000 people in front of him, let alone those who were killed in his prisons and cells and other battles. He was a trainer, he loved to kill people. He got a buzz out of killing people. When he was, struck by the illness, he sent a message to Hassan Basri, please pray for me. Hassan Basri said, no, I'm not going to pray for you. You've committed so many murders. You are a greatest mujrim on crime. I'm not going to pray for you. Straight away, Hassan Basri said it. So he sent a message. Hassan, I'm not saying pray that I get better. I'm saying pray that I die. I can't take this illness. It's too much for me. So Hassan Basri, Rahmatullah, didn't say anything. He made wasiyat. When I die, Hassan Basri should pray my janazah. When he died after 15 days, the person came and he said, this was Hajjaj's wasiyat. Hassan Basri said, I will pray his janazah. Someone said, are you going to pray his janazah? He's such a criminal. And you know what Hassan Basri said? I feel shy to feel that the sins of Hajjaj ibn Yusuf are greater than the ocean of mercy and maghfirat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah's maghfirat is like the oceans. Hajjaj's sins can drown in there as well. Why should I say Allah can't forgive Hajjaj? He's a Muslim. He wasn't a kafir. He said, La ilaha illallah. He died with kalma. He's a Muslim. I will pray his janazah. He went and he led his janazah. This is, Ya nafsu la taqnuti min zallatin azumat. No matter how big sinner you are, you committed great sins, but never lose hope of Allah's maghfirat. La taqnatu min rahmatillah. Chaliye.
لعل رحمة ربي حين يقسمها تأتي على حسب العصيان في القسم.
Perhaps when my Lord, apportions His mercy, it will come apportioned in the measure equal to one's transgression. Hi, Allah, मेरे रब की रहमत जब तकसीम होगी तो मुमकिन है कि गुनाहों के हिसाब से तकसीम होगी, जिसकी गुनाह ज्यादा उसको ज्यादा रहमत. अल्लाह तो ऐसे रहीम है. Allah is so merciful. It is possible, और अल्लाह के यहाँ तो ये है, बाज मर्तबा साव पकड़े जाते हैं, चोर छूट जाते हैं. अल्लाह की रहमत तो ऐसी है, जो बड़ा बुजुर्ग बनता है ना, अल्लाह उसकी पकड़ते हैं, सीधा रहे. और जो बेचारा चोर है, गुनहगार है, लेकिन हम बोले अल्लाह सॉरी, अल्लाह माफी, अल्लाह मेरी मिस्टेक, अल्लाह से जा छोड़ दिए. So it is possible that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmat is distributed, it could come according to the ma'asiyat in taqsim. Chaliye.
Ya Rabbi waj'al raja'i ghayra mun'akisin ladayka waj'al hisabi ghayra munkharimin.
Oh my Rabb, don't let my hope in you be deterred and don't leave my expectations unfulfilled. Chaliye. I have high expectations from you. Don't let my hope be deterred by anything and my expectations be unfulfilled. Please have mercy on me. Chaliye.
وَالْطُفْ بِعَبْدِكَ فِي الدَّارَيْنِ إِنَّ لَهُ صَبْرًا مَتَى تَدْعُوهُ الْأَهْوَالُ يَنْهَزِمِ.
Be gentle with your servant both here and in the hereafter. My patience is so wanting that when calamities call, I am at a loss how to answer. Meaning, be gentle, ultuf bi'abdika, with me in this dunya and in akhirat. Indeed, I have tried to be as patient as I can. When calamities call upon me, I fear I fail, but I'm trying my best to remain patient. So you also have, raham and mercy upon me. Chaliye.
وَأْذَنْ لِلصُّحْبِ صَلَاةٍ مِنْكَ دَائِمَةٍ على النبي بمنهل ومنسجم.
And let a cloud of your incessant blessings rain down gently on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and pour forth forever. Meaning, salatu salam should continue on him forever until the day of Qiyamah. Keep pouring and showering salatu salam on him. Chaliye.
ما رنحت عذبات الباني ريح سبا وأطرب العيس حاد العيس بالنغم.
As long as the Levanter's gentle breeze waft the willow's quivering branches, and cameliers spur camels on with their moving melodies. And this is going to happen until the day of Qiyamah. बांस की लकड़ी हवाओं के जरिए वो बांस और उसके पत्ते हिलते ही रहेंगे, और कैमल पर ट्रैवल करने वाले ट्रैवल करके मदीना जाते ही रहेंगे. इसलिए वहाँ तक यानी क़यामत तक सलातो सलाम हुजूर की खिदमत में पेश करते रहना. ये 160 पोएट्स ख़त्म हो गए. इसके बाद कुछ एडिशंस भी है, लेकिन वो साहिब क़सीदा के नहीं है, बाद वालों के हैं. पीपल एडेड देम लाइक ثم الرضا عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن علي وعن عثمان ذي الكرم والآل والصحب ثم التابعين فهم أهل التقى والنقى والحلم والكرم فاغفر لناشدها واغفر لقارئها سألتك الخير يا ذا الجود والكرم يا رب بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا واغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم واغفر إلهي لكل المسلمين بما يتلوه في المسجد الأقصى وفي الحرم بجاه من بيته في طيبة حرم واسمه قسم من أعظم القسم وهذه بردة المختار قد ختمت والحمد لله في بدء وفي ختم أبياتها قد أتت 60 مع 100 فرج بها كربنا يا واسع الكرم. ये दुआ और इस पर फिनिश हो गया. ये बुसीरी के शेर नहीं है, बाद वालों की तज़मीन है, इसके अंदर वो ऐड कर दिया गया है इसमें. तो इसमें या अकरम अल खल्क़ माली मन अलूज़ु बिही सिवा का इंद हुलूल अल हादिस अल अमीमी. We mentioned that it relates to Shafaat Kubra Maidan Hashar, but it also includes the small problems of this dunya as well. And in there is a hint about his illness, that I am in this illness and I need your du'as and your support. And perhaps this is why Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam came in his dream, wiped his hand over him and gave him his cloak to wear, and when he woke up he was cured. अब शेर समझ में आया है? या अकरम अल खल्क़ माली मन अलूज़ बिही सिवा का इंद हुलूल अल हादिस अल अमीमी वलन यदीक़ रसूलुल्लाह जाहु कबी इज़ल करीम तजल्ला बिस्मि मुंतक़िमी फ़इन्न मिन जूदिक दुनिया व दर्रतहा व मिन उलूमिक इल्मुल लौह वल क़लमी. तो ये अजीब अशार हैं. बहुत कम अबरात वसिबन बिल्लम से राहतहु पढ़ा था ना कि हुजूर के हाथ फेरने से कितने बीमार ठीक हो गए. मैं भी बीमार हूँ, मुझ पर भी हाथ फेर दीजिए. आपने तो कितनों पर आपकी हयात में हाथ फेरे थे. You wiped your hands on them and they were cured. I need some cure as well. Please wipe your hand over me and I can get cured by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the Shafi. This Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wiping hand is like, any medicine. So medicine doesn't cure, Allah cures. So his wiping hand, Allah cures because of the barakat of his blessed hand. So upon this comes to a conclusion, Qasidah Burdah. Our time is up. Sorry I went over a few minutes. May Allah accept, be pleased. ठीक है, मुख्तसर शॉर्ट दुआ कर लो. दुआ तो इसमें हो गई है, लेकिन शॉर्ट दुआ कर लो. सुब्हानक अल्लाहुम्मा व बिहम्दिक नशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्ला अंत नस्तगफिरुका व नतूबु इलैक. अल्लाहुम्मा लकल हम्दु व लकश शुक्र. अल्लाहुम्मा ला नुहसी सनाअन अलैक अंत कमा असनैत अला नफ्सिक. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला सय्यिदिना मुहम्मदिन नबिय्यिल उम्मी व अला आलिहि व अस्हाबिहि व सल्लिम तस्लीमा. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد صلاة تكون لك رضا وله جزاء ولحقه أداء وأعطه الوسيلة والفضيلة والمقام المحمود الذي وعدته واجزه عنا ما هو أهله واجزه أفضل ما جازيت نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته وصل على جميع إخوانه من النبيين والصالحين يا أرحم الراحمين. جزا الله عنا सय्यिदना मुहम्मदन सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम मा हुवा अहलुहु। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला रूहि सय्यिदना मुहम्मदिन फिल अरवाह व सल्लि अला जसदी सय्यिदना मुहम्मदिन फिल अजसाद व सल्लि अला क़ब्रि सय्यिदना मुहम्मदिन फिल क़ुबूर व सल्लि अला क़ल्बि सय्यिदना मुहम्मदिन फिल क़ुलूब। सलवातुल्लाहिल बर्रिर रहीम वल मलाइकतिल मुक़र्रबीन वन नबिय्यीन वस्सिद्दीक़ीन वश्शुहदाइ वस्सालिहीन वमा सब्बह लक मिन शैइन या रब्बल आलमीन अला सय्यिदिल मुरसलीन व इमामिल मुत्तक़ीन व ख़ातमिल अंबियाइ वल मुरसलीन सय्यिदिना मौलाना मुहम्मद इब्न अब्दिल्लाह अश-शाहिदुल बशीर अद-दाई इलल्लाहि बिइज़्निहिस सिराजिल मुनीर। अल्लाहुम्मा तक़ब्बल शफ़ाअत सय्यिदिना मुहम्मदिनिल कुबरा वरफ़अ दरजतहुल उलिया वअअतिही सुअलहु फिल आखिरति वल ऊला कमा अतैत इब्राहीम व मूसा। अल्लाहुम्मा अज्मअ बैनना व बैनहु कमा आमन्ना बिही व लम नरहु वला तुफ़र्रिक़ बैनना व बैनहु हत्ता तुदख़िलना मुदख़लहु वजअलना मिन हिज़्बिही मअन नबिय्यीन मिन अहिब्बाइही वस्सिद्दीक़ीन वश्शुहदा वस्सालिहीन व हसुन उलाइक रफ़ीक़ा। या अरहमर राहिमीन, महज़ अपने फ़ज़्ल व करम से हम सब की मग़फ़िरत फरमा दीजिए। या अल्लाह हम में से किसी एक को भी यहाँ से महरूम न उठने दीजिए। या अल्लाह आपकी मेहरबानी, आपकी तौफ़ीक़, आपकी मदद से ये क़सीदे बुर्दा का डे कोर्स हुआ। या अल्लाह जो कुछ पढ़ाया इसको कबूल फरमाइए। या अल्लाह जिन्होंने ऑर्गेनाइज़ किया उनको भी कबूल फरमाइए। या अल्लाह इसका मकसद सरकार दो आलम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की मोहब्बत और लव को इंक्रीज़ करना है। हम सब के दिलों में सरकार की मोहब्बत को या अल्लाह पहले से ज़्यादा कर दीजिए। हम सब को इश्क़ रसूल अता फरमाइए, सहीह माना में आशिक़ रसूल बनाइए। या अल्लाह सरकार की खिदमत में कसरत से दुरूद और सलाम भेजने की तौफ़ीक़ नसीब फरमाइए। या अल्लाह हमने हमारे नबी की कदर नहीं की, हमारे इस जुर्म अज़ीम को माफ़ फरमाइए। हमें अपने नबी का वैल्यू समझने की तौफ़ीक़ नसीब फरमाइए। अल्लाह हर वक्त उनको याद रखने की तौफ़ीक़ अता फरमाइए और हर वक्त या अल्लाह उनकी खिदमत में दुरूद और सलाम भेजने और हर वक्त उनकी सुन्नत के मुताबिक ज़िंदगी गुजारने की तौफ़ीक़ अता फरमाइए। या अल्लाह अपने सहाबा को जो इश्क़ रसूल दिया था, सलफ़ सालिहीन को जो रसूलुल्लाह की मोहब्बत दी थी, उसका कुछ हिस्सा और शिम्मा हम गुनहगारों को भी नसीब फरमा दीजिए। अल्लाह हमारी जवान नस्लों के दिलों में सरकार की मोहब्बत को पैवस्त फरमा दीजिए। या अल्लाह गैरों की मोहब्बत के बजाय अपने रसूल से मोहब्बत करने की तौफ़ीक़ अता फरमाइए। गैरों की नकल उतारने के बजाय रसूल की नकल उतारने की तौफ़ीक़ अता फरमाइए। गैरों के तरीक़ पर चलने के बजाय रसूल के तरीक़ पर ज़िंदगी गुजारने की तौफ़ीक़ अता फरमाइए। गुनाहों से बचाइए या अल्लाह, कुफ्र और शिर्क से बचाइए, फ़िस्क़ व फ़ुजूर से बचाइए, हर किस्म के इल्हाद और ज़ंदक़ा से बचाइए। या अल्लाह उम्मत के दीन और ईमान की हिफाजत फरमाइए। या अल्लाह हमारी जवान नस्लों को या अल्लाह तक़वा और परहेज़गारी अता फरमाइए। हर किस्म के फ़िस्क़ और फ़ुजूर और शराब और ड्रग्स और लिवातत और चोरी और बदमाशी और गुंडागर्दी और क़त्ल व गारतगरी और ड्रग्स और इंटरेस्ट मनी और सूद और फ्रॉड और चीटिंग और नाइफ कल्चर, गन कल्चर, क्राइम कल्चर से हमारी नौजवान नस्लों की पूरी हिफाजत फरमाइए। अल्लाह पूरी हिफाजत फरमाइए, पूरी हिफाजत फरमाइए। नेक हिदायत अता फरमाइए, मुसलमानों को भी हिदायत अता फरमाइए, गैर मुस्लिमों को भी हिदायत अता फरमाइए। हमारी मसाजिद को आबाद फरमाइए। परवरदिगार आलम, इस ओल्डहम में जितने भी मस्जिदें हैं, मदरसे हैं, सबकी हिफाजत फरमाइए। अल्लाह जितने इदारे हैं, इस्लामिक स्कूल और इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं, या अल्लाह मकातिब हैं, मदारिस हैं, सब की खिदमत को कबूल फरमाइए और सब की ज़रूरतों को अपने ख़ज़ाने गैब से पूरा फरमाइए। या अल्लाह हमारी टूटी फूटी दुआएं कबूल फरमाइए, हमारी कोताहियाँ कमज़ोरियाँ माफ़ फरमाइए। परवरदिगार आलम, सरकार के तुफ़ैल में या अल्लाह आप बड़े बड़े बीमारों को भी शिफा दे देते हैं। या अल्लाह हम भी ये अर्ज़ करते हैं सरकार के सदक़े तुफ़ैल में, इस क़सीदे बुर्दा के सदक़े तुफ़ैल में हमारे भी तमाम बीमारों को शिफा अता फरमा दीजिए, हमारी सारी ज़रूरतें पूरी फरमा दीजिए या अल्लाह। और या अल्लाह जिस तरह हमारे अकाबिर मशाइख इसको पढ़ते थे, पढ़ाते थे, इससे सबक लेते थे, हमें भी या अल्लाह इसकी तौफीक नसीब फरमाइए और हमारी सारी ज़रूरतें पूरी फरमाइए। अल्लाह जो हज़रात दुआ में हमारे साथ शामिल हैं, हर एक के दिल में जो भी इनफरादी हाजत है, पर्सनल ज़रूरत है, उसको अपने ख़ज़ाने ग़ैब से पूरा फरमाइए। हमारी टूटी फूटी दुआएं सुन लीजिए। रब्बना तक़ब्बल मिन्ना इन्नका अंतस समीउल अलीम व तुब अलैना इन्नका अंतत तव्वाबुर रहीम। या अल्लाह जिन्होंने ये प्रोग्राम ऑर्गेनाइज़ किया, मौलाना रहीम खान साहब, मौलाना मुज़म्मिल साहब, या अल्लाह सब को जज़ाए खैर अता फरमाइए। इनके जान में, माल में, इज़्ज़त, आबरू औलाद में बरकत ही बरकत नसीब फरमाइए। इस मस्जिद की भी हिफाजत फरमाइए, मस्जिद की कमेटी और कम्युनिटी वालों को भी जज़ाए खैर अता फरमाइए। मस्तूरात ने बड़ी मोहब्बत से इसमें हिस्सा लिया, या अल्लाह उनको भी जज़ाए खैर अता फरमाइए। और या अल्लाह यहाँ की मस्तूरात को भी पूरे इलाके वालों के लिए हिदायत का ज़रिया बनाइए। अल्लाह स्प्रेड हिदायत थ्रू दीज ladies as well, and accept all the khidmat of the ulama and the appas around the city of Oldham. Give us all the true love and ishq and muhabbat of Rasul Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Give us tawfiq to study his seerah and biography, and give us tawfiq to read as much Durush Sharif as we can, and to emulate him, copy him, adapt his lifestyle, follow his sunnah, behave like him, and oh Allah, give us good manners and good behavior like him, and give our youth, Allah, that especially, and the elders as well, the tawfiq to practice on his sunnahs throughout our lives, and stay close to him, and accept our humble du'as. Be pleased with us. Give us all the good things which your beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked from you, and protect us from all those evils from which he sought your protection. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Honestly, no words that we can find to thank our honorable Sheikh, our Azul, Isa Oldham, begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to resolve these things, and Allah to continue answering for all the activities. Jazakumullah to everyone for attending the program. Now, inshallah, food has been prepared for everyone to just wait here downstairs for the sisters to come back to their hall. And inshallah, we